Hey babes, it's Sharonda Isadora and welcome to Brazen Babe Reviews. And during this video, I will be doing a book review, and that review will be on Katrina Jackson's Office Hours. This book was just released April 30th, 2020. I will insert the cover somewhere in here so that you can see it. If you see this video on Instagram, and if it's more than 15 minutes, you can catch the rest of the review on the YouTubes. As always, I will read the blurb to you, and then I'll give you guys my thoughts. And shout out to the author for sending me the ARC. So much appreciated, ma'am. Thank you. So here's the blurb. What's life on the tenure track? For Assistant Professor of Sociology, Dr. Deja Evans, it sucks hard every day. Between a class prep, the meetings, grading student work, trying to find time to complete her own research in the meetings, she didn't have a life. She had a digital calendar that decided whether she got to wallow in her feelings at 3 p.m. or 7 p.m. on Thursday or maybe Sunday. And the worst meeting of them all was the 2.5-hour once a month faculty senate, which was drier than her dating life, duller than her skin in winter, and far longer than her attention span. The only thing that made those never-ending faculty senate meetings bearable was watching Dr. Alexandra Mendoza, Associate Professor of History, breathe. For years, Deja had harbored a kind of secret crush on the sexiest man on campus, never thinking that he would ever feel the same, until one unexpected day they had a steamy after-hours encounter in her office, and y'all, it was hot. And suddenly her life seems much more exciting. That lasts about half a minute. Over the course of a hectic academic year, Deja tries to survive her classes, help her students, prepare herself for her third-year review, and most important of all, she has to learn how to get out her own way and just let Alexandra love her. Or is it Alejandro? Anyway, so that is your blurb for Office Hours by Katrina Jackson. Right off the back, I rated this 5 stars on Goodreads. I enjoyed this book so much. It was such an enjoyable read. Just in this cover, y'all, this man is fucking fine. Just like if she modeled the actual character after this dude on this cover, I'm in awe. And whenever the print copies come out, I want one immediately. I just love this. Oh God, anyway, okay, so let's get to some things that I loved about this book. And I didn't hate anything about this book. I loved it. There's nothing to dislike about this book at all. So some of the things that I loved about this book: the relationship between Deja and her girlfriends on campus, which were 2 other professors, an adjunct professor and associate professor, same as Alexandra. I love the relationship between the ladies. I love the fact that they were all women of color. She really showed the strength of their friendship and the support that these women offered each other throughout the academic year while reading this story. I loved it, especially with Tony, who was an associate professor. She was always there to support Deja and their other friend Marie, throughout their academic years while they were trying to become tenured professors. Like, I love the relationship between the ladies. It was just so well done and so well written. It was just good to see. And then just the fact that they were all women of color, perfect. Also love the mentions of race in academia in this story, and mainly how people of color, but mainly women of color, tend to deal with macro and microaggressions in their respective fields in academia. We saw this a lot with Deja and her friend Marie, because they were associate and adjunct professors. They tended, because they were trying to become tenured professors. They tended to take on a lot of classes. They were advising students, teaching students. They were on all these different type of committees. They were really like stressed out, you know what I mean? And then, having all of that, and then not having the support from their respective, the departments that they worked in at the university. It was just really a good thing to see. And I'm so glad that Katrina Jackson covered all of these things in this book. Because, generally when we go inside some of these college romances, rather it's dealing with the students or the professors, I feel like a lot of people tend to put on rose-colored glasses when we're writing the stories. We never get the messy side of academia, you know what I mean? We always get like, especially if it's a romance, which is fine. But, these characters, especially when we're in like contemporary romances, these characters are built around real life, and real life is messy. So, we should have some messiness inside of these stories, you know what I mean? So I'm just glad that she incorporated that. So we have a strong, we have strong mentions of women of color in academia, and we have strong mentions of, people of color and women of color dealing with, these aggressions that they have to deal with when they're in the field, when they're in the academia field. So, and it was really just well-rounded everything, because this is a romance. We still have to have this romance going on inside of the story. So she was able to just incorporate all these things inside of the story and still keep us engulfed in this romance between Deja and Alexandra. Other thing I loved was the conversations of mental health in relationship of one's job. I feel like Katrina really showcased the different emotions that we got with Deja, that she went through in the story outside of her relationship in romance with Alexandra. How working towards going towards her, getting tenure at the university, how it was so exhausting, and how it affected her mental health, how it affected her body. She was tired all the time. She was stressed all the time. She was just like the Energizer Bunny, without batteries. You know what I mean? She was always running around campus. She never took time to herself. You know what I mean? She was always working. So we saw that a lot throughout the story. Deja was really hard on herself. And she really, to me, as I was reading the story, she tended to like really just like self-sabotage, I feel like, a little bit. And I really couldn't even get frustrated with her character, because as someone that still does that to this day, everything is going good, you see it's going good, everybody's telling you it's going good, but because you tend to have kind of like this, I call it morbid, this morbid way of thinking, and really feeling like, it's going to take a bad turn. I related to Deja a lot in that, and she really was a work in progress. She was really trying to be better to herself. But, we're all works in progress. We all try, and I'm still a work in progress to this day, because I still do that shit to this day. I mean, shit could be perfect, and I'll be sitting here thinking like, oh God, I could just see the bad part of this shit. You know what I mean? So I got where she was coming with from Deja with this story. it was just, those things really stuck out for me. Those things that I just mentioned, they really stuck out for me when I was reading this book. It was just great how she incorporated all of that in this romance. The romance itself, y'all, be still, my still beating heart. It was so just chef kiss. It was perfect. It was hot. It was sexy. It was titillating. Oh God, it was titillating. It was slow burning. I mean, it was slow burning to perfection. Like I gotta call it a courtship. The courtship of Deja and Alexandra's relationship was just so good, because she breaks it down, you know, over the semester. We have spring, we have winter, you know, we have fall, you know, so we have those breaks, you know, of, you know, each semester and stuff like that, you know, throughout the academic year of them, you know, from that first initial contact of them in her office and them slowly, you know, going through this romance. It was just so perfect. Like, I really just enjoyed it so much. Like, I love the breakdown of the chapters that she did. It was just great. I loved everything about Deja and Alexandra. They were so freaking cute together. And it was so cute to see them kind of like crushing on each other, but didn't know you know, they were actually crushing on each other. It was just like, and then, you know, when they were telling each other like, oh, I had a crush on you, and he's like, oh, I had a crush on you, and they're both like, it was just so cute. I love that. Them out fucking each other, you know, when they were in these long ass faculty meetings and stuff like that. Like, and Deja was like how Katrina Jackson explained to her, you know, she was just like, you know, she was just like so shy or whatever, and, you know, because she had this crush on him, and she, you know, she looks to him across the room when they were in these long ass meetings, and it was just like, as soon as, you know, she would be eyeing him, he'd look up and he'd be eyeing her. It was just like them eye fucking each other across the room was just like, bitch, I need that to happen in my life. I need it, okay? Their sexual encounters, when they started, man, I'm still fucking hot. I'm still having like hot flashes from reading those scenes. They were just so damn good and hot and sensual. I was just like, whew, girl, they were just like, Katrina Jackson is another author for me that just really does really good ass sexual scenes in her romances. You just be sitting there like, I need some water or a cigarette or something. Just something. But what I love so much about this story is Alexandra's commitment to taking care of Deja, because Deja, once they really started getting together and, you know, seeing each other, Deja was really nervous about people finding out, you know, that they, you know, had any semblance of a relationship, because she was an assistant professor and she was trying to become tenured. She was very nervous about people finding out, because she didn't want it to affect her job. You know, and she didn't want to be seen a different kind of a way, you know, because Alexandra was already tenured and already, you know, at the school and stuff like that. So he was so committed to just making sure that she was okay and just taking care of her. And, you know, when she had those moments where, you know, she was kind of like, you know, back off or any, you know, he was so committed to just, you know, letting her lead when she, you know, when she wanted to lead, you know what I mean? Him not being an ass of a man, like I said, and just stepping back and letting her lead, and, you know, letting her, you know, be comfortable with the relationship being out in the open when she was comfortable, you know, with it being out. I loved that Deja was kind of, again, like this shy woman, and always was so worried about their relationship. But when she was around Alexandra, how she just tended to just be relaxed, and she really just became kind of like this, you know, this really kind of like sexual person. Like, she tended to like surprise me, you know, whenever they hooked up. I guess she surprised Alexandra too, because I was just like, you never saw it coming from her, you know what I mean? So it was just a really, like, this was just a really well done romance. It was low angst, no drama. Like I said, the only really drama, and it wasn't even drama, you know, we just had like this kind of like this worriness kind of like going on with Deja when it came to their relationship. Like, this is just really just perfect. I loved it so much. It was just so done. I mean, just so well done. Like, I have nothing bad to say about this book. Like, nothing. The funny parts for me was Jerome. If you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. He was just so cute. Like, I love that whole, like, situation that was going on between him and he's one of Deja's stewards. So I loved when like when they had their first like actual sexual encounter and she fell asleep after orgasm. Took me the fuck out. I was like, never read that nowhere before. I was totally like, okay. Loved whenever her girlfriends teased her about Alexandra, knowing how shy she was and stuff like that. Loved it. There were so many gems inside of this book. I highly recommend it. If you are a fan of college romances amongst professors, or just low angst, slow burning romances, then definitely add Office Hours to your TBR. Add Katrina Jackson as one of your fave authors. Read any of her books. More than likely, you are never going to be disappointed. And that's all I got. So until the next one, later days. Bye, guys.